So I was doing my research today, as I love doing, and in my own world, I came across so many different things, and it led me, of course, to research what was already been written, which is um, Isaiah, and in the stories in Isaiah and um, the tellings in Isaiah. So, when you're researching history, you will come across many things. However, I also think this is a tale of those who can't mind their own damn business. And I say that because if someone is researching and they get to a point where, this has happened and this has happened and this is why it happened, and then someone comes along with their influences of negativity, I think um, it's very distracting. Um, like I said, I was researching, and if you research, you have to go through history. And again, it led me to Isaiah. One place it led me to. I went so many other places, a lot of places in the East, and a lot of countries in the West. And then to the Bible to see what the Bible actually had to say about the situation. And it actually does mark the particular place that I'm in, showing me that people have, of course, been here before with this research. And what it came to for me, um, because thou hast forgotten God of thy salvation, which is the first word, which is not including the people who have not forgotten. So to cast upon your thought process on other people um, is one of the warning signs in here. And I ask you to take heed before you jump um, to your conclusions, because thou hast forgotten the God of thy salvation, and has not been mindful of the rock of thy strength, which for me, there could be many things that the rock is referring to in chemistry. Rock is a solid, foundation, and it's a source of minerals, and you need all those minerals to sustain your body. It also could refer to the person, the entity, or the deity that you believe in that helps your mind, your soul, and your spirit. Um, Therefore, shalt thou plant pleasant plants, and shall set it with strange slips. In the day shalt thou make thy plant to grow, and in the morning shalt thou make thy seed to flourish. But the harvest shall be a heap in the day of grief and desperate sorrow. Woe to the multitude of many people which make noise like the noise of the seas, and to the rushing nations that make rushing like the rushings of mighty waters. The nations shall rush like the rushings of many waters, but God shall rebuke them, and they shall flee far off, and they shall be chased as chaff in the mountains before the wind, and like the rolling things before the whirlwind. And it also goes to talk about, and before the morning he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us. And a lot of them that rob us. Woe to the land shadowing with wings is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, that sendeth ambassadors, that's a nice word, by the sea, even in vessels of flourishes upon the waters, saying, Go ye swift messengers to a nation scattered and peeled, to a people terrible from their beginning. Here throw a nation melted out of the trodden down, whose lands and rivers have been spoiled. Um, so, and then it goes on to have conversation about brooks and shall be emptied and dried up in seed. So, I think before we go to a mental issue, I think, you should check your waters, you know, before you start to focus so much on what an individual is doing in their spare time. You should wonder how sanitary is your water that you need to live. You should worry about whether things are being deforestation, whether or not you have food and the soil and the ground, because climate matters for your seeds to grow. And as we have found out, you can't go planting seeds in every soil thinking that it's going to bring food. And I don't mean that metaphorically. You can hear it metaphorically, but literally, you can't do that. Um, so I think that is definitely something that is important. So I say that to say, when someone is doing their research and studying and discovering things some people have already discovered and written a whole conversation about, to hear their opinions about it is awesome. But I think some of the details are left out, and they might be left out for a reason. So to be able to find those details that were not written is amazing, and I find it very interesting. So again, how's your water? How's the water quality? How's your soil quality? Um, Before you talk about the destruction and running people off and scattering people, things of war. How is your things of life? Not your personal quality of life, because if you can buy a bottle of water, you might be doing great, you know. And if you don't have to consider the things that matter to people now and people in the future, um, worrying about what somebody is reading and where they're going with it is the last and least of your worries. You understand? So yeah, so I'm going to be in Isaiah for the next couple days because I'm not reading this in one sitting. And after I get finished, I'm going to do some more research and get to writing history my way, but history.